Another morning of some pretty dramatic breaking news on the international stage. We're joined by the Shadow Business and Trade Secretary, Andrew Griffith, who joins us now. Thanks for being with us. I've got to get your reaction to Donald Trump's comments on the Chagos Islands. He said that signing away sovereignty to Mauritius by the UK was an act of great stupidity, another in a very long list of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. What's your reaction to what he's had to say?
Well, I don't agree with the linkage to Greenland, but it's true, and we've taught ourselves this throughout history, that peace comes through strength. And it doesn't show strength to be listening to some international North London lawyers and giving away British sovereign territory. It's been opposed by the Conservatives right from the beginning. It's got some very unique assets in terms of global security, parts of the sky, parts of the radio spectrum, physicality, that can't be replicated anywhere else on the planet. And the idea that we were going to pay Mauritius, which has never run this island, over the wishes of the Chagosians, £35 billion of taxpayers' money, complete nuts, complete self-sabotage. And on this one point, he is right.
You see, this is it. You're careful there to say you don't agree with what he said on Greenland. I mean, is there a risk there that, you're dancing to his tune? He's basically just trying to justify his threats against Greenland.
Look, I've used my words. I mean, this is about, in this particular case, the Chagos Islands, and this is a long-standing Conservative position. We've opposed every single aspect of the deal, from the damage it'll be caused by fishing out a marine protected area, Mauritius's proximity with the Chinese, who are not an ally, and simply the fact that this is going to damage British interests in the world. The way we've got leverage with the United States, the special relationship, which I firmly believe in, is through bringing to the party our assets in places like the world, like the Chagos Islands. We give those away, we've got less equities, less chance of having our voice heard with the Americans.
But the US agreed to this. They kind of signed it off, right? Marco Rubio, back in May, said the US welcomes this historic agreement. It secures the long-term, stable and effective operation of that military base. So, Donald Trump's just changed his mind.
Yeah, look, I thought Marco Rubio was wrong then, and in this particular case, Donald Trump is right. And the position, as you will know, of the Conservatives on this deal, from the very moment we heard the horror show that this government, David Lammy, had negotiated, was to oppose this deal, oppose the transfer. And the one linkage is that the wider world is now standing up rightly for the self-determination rights of the people of Greenland. Well, why shouldn't the Chagosians have those rights?
Can I ask you a bit more widely about how on earth we should deal with Donald Trump, right? Because we heard from Keir Starmer there yesterday, trying to thread a bit of a diplomatic needle. He's obviously worried about some of the economic impact of these tariffs. He talked about the importance of trade and investment. With your kind of business hat on, would you give the Prime Minister a bit of credit for trying to keep Donald Trump on side for the good of the UK economy?
Yeah, when the Prime Minister does something right, we're all too happy to support him. It's, in fact, sadly very rare, but when he U-turns and gets to our position,
you can't help yourself. I thought you were going to start off saying something, magnanimous.
On this, well, I said the Prime Minister's right. It's right to separate the economic track, the damage that will be caused both to American citizens, British exporters, and the cost of living in the UK if you got into a tit-for-tat tariff war. So it's right that we're not part of any European retaliation exercise, and it's right that we try and keep that separate. In terms of how you try and influence the US, the world's greatest economic and military superpower, it is by coming to that conversation with the intelligence sharing that we've done, the very close linkage between our militaries, and the assets that we can offer around the world in precisely places like British Indian Ocean territories. So I think it's right to separate those two tracks. That is the Prime Minister's view, and we Conservatives support that. But then you've got to bring things to bear. And if we make ourselves look weak, then clearly we're not going to have as much weight in those conversations as we might want. Can
I just ask you about the defections that we've seen from the Conservatives to reform? Obviously, Robert Jenrick, the most high profile. Are you in the kind of Kemi Badenoch camp where this is great, Reform are doing her spring cleaning, or are you actually someone who feels, I guess, a bit of sorrow when you see colleagues jump ship?
When you said defections, Sophie, I thought you were going to ask about the defections of a Buckinghamshire councillor from Reform to the Conservatives, which has given the Conservatives back control of Buckinghamshire County Council, which will allow us to deliver good services to local residents there. Look, more widely, I certainly came into this postcode politics after business because I want to help fix things. And I think Kemi Badenoch's approach of laying out often challenges in honest truths that haven't been told for too long, and then building a team that are purposefully trying to put in place plans to fix those, as I am for small businesses who are bleeding out across the country. Yesterday, it was the Conservatives holding the government to account over business rates, which all of those small businesses that are viewing right now.
So are you happy about the spring cleaning, or are you sorrowful to leave?
Look, I'm happy when teams work well as a team, and ultimately, if people aren't willing to purposefully work as a team, this is a competitive domain. There's other parties available, but we, the Conservatives, want to work well as a team, and I think we are, and I think Kemi's leadership was very strong on this issue.
OK, thanks very much indeed, Andrew Griffith from the Conservative Party.